Welcome back. It is shop night, and you know what that means? I am Chris Marshall, and joining me is my co-host. He is the 2023 FRC Super Late Model Rookie of the Year. Your friend and mine, the Big LG, Lou Goss. Lou, how you doing, man?
I'm great, man. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Lou, we had a very exciting weekend. It was 4th of July weekend.
Yep.
I spent some time on a boat, had a great time. I know, we did have an injury on the boat, and, I know you're on the mend. How are you doing?
I'm good. That was fun, wasn't it? What a great way to spend the day after the races on the 4th of July. Jump on the pontoon boat, the families, you and I, right? Everybody, bunch of food, beer. Run out to the bay, Green Bay, just about cut my finger off, and then come on back. We had a great time.
Yeah, we almost amputated, and so I'll make sure to know we almost cut it off at one point. So
just to stop the bleeding.
Yeah, so it was just something I said, put a tourniquet on it. They're like, we need to just dampen it. I said, we need to cut it off. And Thiel said, no, don't do that. I don't want you to cut the hand off. And I said, all right, well, we do need him to drive the car, because if not, I'm just going to let you know, I did have a few drivers on standby. So I did have Joey Logano and Carson Hocevar on standby.
And Mike Hubbard.
I did.
Okay.
So Mike Hubbard was number one. So if Mike said, hey, Chris, I can't do this, I'm in the Dells, then I'm calling Carson Hocevar. So that was a little bit of a dilemma that I had there.
Yeah.
And Carson was in the middle of a stream when I called him, and so he couldn't hear anything that I was saying. So
that's really fun.
But I am going to let you know that this episode is sponsored by our friends at Nicolet National Bank.
Yeah. I mean, we've featured them a few times on the show, right? They've been on the car for the last couple of years. They're great, super helpful, right? Help us fund our house, help us fund this project in the shop, right? Just all sorts of great financing options, whether it's commercial or residential. Please reach out to them.
Now, Lou, I want to get into some serious stuff here. So now we had some car updates, some stuff that we did. Now, after the races are done, after we get the car loaded in, we have a little thing that we do, a little grocery list that we go over. So we go over just stuff that needs to be done in the car. So we didn't have a whole lot that needed to be done.
Yep.
But just go over a little bit of some of the stuff that you guys were able to do.
Yeah, in this past week, for sure, we really didn't have much, right? I think we kind of went over that we were putting new brake pads in already, and we put the brake ducts in to help a little bit of brake cooling. We can show that off real quick.
So just looking here, Lou, I see here that we have this hose here. Can you kind of explain a little bit of what that hose does and why that's important?
Right, so it's connected to the front of the car on the bumper cover, and that high pressure air pushes right through here and helps cool the brakes off, which is always good because the new brakes or newer style brakes can handle basically any sort of brake heat is fine. But the problem is that brake heat gets into the tire, and then your tire heats up, right? And and the pressure comes up. That's probably the biggest thing, is to keep that heat and that pressure out of the tire.
Now that's going to bring me to something that when we go over and recap a little bit of the race, I think that's going to be a little important there.
Yeah.
With that, bringing that down.
Yeah. Yeah. So then after this week, we got a bunch of stuff figured out. That was it, right? We've also gone over. We changed the steering rack a couple weeks ago because it was leaking. Fortunately, we had one that was rebuilt from Sweet Power Steering, sitting over here ready to go. So that was brand new. Put that in, and so after this week, there's really isn't a ton to do. Just cleaned the car up, did our normal nut and bolt check, and we're basically ready to go. Put the battery on the charger, the trailer's ready to go. We even aired the tires up in the trailer. That's how much extra time we had tonight. So yeah, we're all set.
So maybe we can just load this bad boy up and go over to Slinger and race the Nationals?
That would be fun. That would be super fun. But like you and I talked about off camera, right? That takes quite a different setup to go there and race. We've done that a couple times, and we have to put a whole new set of different coilovers on the car, and we're not set up to do that. So instead, we're going to enjoy it tomorrow at our buddy Jordan Thiel's house, the real deal Jordan Thiel, right?
That's right.
We're going to go check it out. He's having it on flow, so we're going to go check it out with him.
And I love that. Now, before we get into tomorrow, previewing that race and watching it, let's talk a little bit about the All-Star 100. the All-Star, they had a very special race. The Pro Late Models had their All-Star race to commemorate July the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
But we went to WIR for that, and a race broke out. So I want to start from the beginning. We had practice.
Yep.
With the new brakes, with the new duct.
Yep.
You kind of mentioned you were going to maybe just go halfway just to see how it worked. How did everything feel when you went through practice?
Well, and my comment to that, that first practice was to try and get the new pads seated in correctly, right? They got to be brought up to a certain temperature in certain increments to seat in properly. So I didn't want to go just super hard right away. So that very first practice, we kind of just, slowly kept incrementing how hard I was getting on the brakes and how long I was holding that brake input.
Now, when you say seed, because you put them in there, does it have to, when you say seed, what do you mean by seed in there?
Well, I think they take on the shape of the rotor, right? I mean, everything's supposed to run fairly true, but they don't. It's not perfectly aligned, right? So you use that little bit of break-in time, if you will, to get the pads and the brake rotor at that perfect plane. Plus, I think there's some heating characteristics that have to happen in that pad for them to work correctly.
Okay. Now, Lou, we go into qualifying after practice. Mm-hmm. We do the scuff.
Yep.
I should get into that first. We do the scuff. How was the car after you got everything seated and you went into the super late model scuff and qualifying?
It was good. We knew that the car bounced back from 2 weeks ago, when basically our last race that we ran, right? The car was still turning really well, and we were hoping for that again, right? Because it was we had made some really minor changes, but yet the car took to them very well. So we were hoping we could back that up, and sure enough, it started turning right away, which was great. So yeah, we got through scuff and qualifying. Actually turned so good in qualifying, at least I didn't spin out again this time, like 2 weeks ago. But it was on the right path. I knew what it was going to do. So yeah, I had kind of got crossed up a little bit off of 4, so that on our second lap, so that kind of messed up the lap time. But I was still pretty happy of that.
Now, Lou, we roll into the heat race. Now, this heat race was very interesting because after everything that we did in practice, scuff, qualifying, it was now heat race time. Heat race time, I noticed the car had some speed in it. How did everything feel, when you were in the car for the heat race? Because, there was also something that happened, which I'm going to let you know that Lou Goss was marked safe, if that's how it's pronounced. Mark Allen just let me know if I used that correctly, but Lou Goss was marked safe. So just going over the heat race, how did the car feel during the heat race?
Yeah, well, like I mentioned, kind of for qualifying too, the car was probably over rotating a little too much. So when we started that heat race, we started front row inside, and had a really good start. But because I couldn't use the whole track, I really had to turn it in, more aggressively than I wanted to. And so on the, third or fourth lap, right, going into turn 3, it just started to come around on me. Unfortunately, I didn't just let it slide up into the other cars. It was a pretty slow, lazy slide. Everybody else avoided. We didn't drive it down to the guardrail. No. And was marked safe by Mark Allen. So
that's right.
Fired it up and just finished up the heat as we could.
Yeah, I saw it happen in slow motion, and I'll just tell you from where I was, when I saw it happen, I saw it get a little sideways, and you went around, and all I said was clear, because everybody got around you, there was nobody behind you, you're good to go, and we rejoined the field. So after the heat race, did you make any adjustments to the car? How did the car feel after the heat race going into the feature?
I think we basically just kept focusing on making sure that stagger was just right. We had made a little bit of a panner bar change before the heat, but that was so subtle, right? We needed just a little bit more. So we kind of really just started to hone in on the stagger for the feature. And man, was the car good in the feature. It was so much fun. It was we had normal speed, which was great. I could turn the thing in, turn right to the bottom. In fact, it probably still turned a little too good, So I think that's about our only adjustment for this week, is just to kind of calm down that turn in just a little bit. But it would wrap the bottom. I could just drive it right down to the grass and throttle up. It was fun.
You look very comfortable in that feature, and you were mixing it up with them a little bit up there too. And I remember looking up there going, all right, outside, outside, outside. You guys are, there's a little bit of they'll buff out.
Yeah.
But, I noticed that. I went, man. And then as we got closer to the end, we did have a caution.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I wish I would have done, and I should have did this for you, I should have told you, go inside. Because when we started on that, when we had that restart, the car really picked back up.
It did.
And so there was a little bit there where I go, man, he's got something there. But, I think I kind of hold back my excitement there, So I looked at it, man, it was a different car from what we saw two weeks ago, 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Always on a restart, you kind of wonder how the car's going to fire back off. And, man, it was great. But, yeah, between you and I, we kind of messed up on our pick a lane call. So it felt like if we had picked the correct lane, we probably would have got ourselves 2 spots because I think we were good enough to hold them.
Oh yeah.
So, but anyway, we'll get that figured out. But it was just fun to have pace and car drive decent, and I mean, what more do you want to ask for?
Hey, I thought it was a really good race. We came away with an 11th place finish, 11th place hard fought finish, which gets the Chris Marshall. That doesn't work for me, brother. Hard Charger Driver of the Race Award. I don't have.
I got the Driver of the Race.
That's right. That's right. I'll have to look at the stats, and maybe somebody on there will correct me. Like, well, you guys weren't the Hard Charger or somebody else. Then they would get the sticker. It's a traveling trophy. You get that in a crisp $1 bill, which goes back to me, as I said, it's a traveling trophy. But, Lou, I do want to kind of preview some things for next week.
Yeah.
We're going back to Wisconsin International Raceway. How do you feel going back to Wisconsin International Raceway again? This time there's no 2-week layoff. How did everything feel going back minus a 2-week layoff?
Yeah, I'm excited. It's fun to just get to the point where we can kind of back up these results. So I think that's our goal for this week, is to initially try and back it up. Of course, to make it a little bit better, but if we can back it up, then we know we're in the right spot. We're in that right realm.
Well, Lou, I do want to throw out some honorable mentions here.
Yeah.
So I do want to thank our crew chief who worked really hard on this car.
Yeah.
I want to thank him and Quentin, the Mustang brothers.
Yeah, Eric Deveroy and Quentin. They're the mechanics on the crew. Eric is the crew chief. They do a great job, right? They take a lot of stress off of me, off of us, off of Mike Hubbard, everybody that helps out. Otherwise, those guys they sweat their butts off in the pits for sure.
Yeah, you point them, you say, hey, look, that needs to be done, and they're on it. Yep. Also, another honorable mention I want to throw out there. There was a race car driver making his first ever super late model start.
Yeah.
And I think I told you this, and we talked about it. It's a tough place. Wisconsin International Raceway is a tough track to start at for your very first race. And the driver in the number 25 car, I forget his name.
Yeah, Mitch Opsahl.
Yes, Mitch.
Yeah.
You did really good. I tell you, it's a tough track. You know, so anybody going out there, nobody's going to look like Richard Petty or Dale Earnhardt going out there, or Dick Trickle. So you just go out there, just kind of, do what you can out there. But it's a tough track. I also do want to throw another honorable mention out to Dan Braun.
Yeah.
He finished 10th in the Pro Late Model Feature, and I know a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, 10th." But see, Dan told me way before, he said, hey, we're going to try to do our best here. We're going to ride around and see what we can do there. And, they avoided a couple of wrecks there, and he came home with a 10th place finish. So, with that special all-star race, there was a lot of money given out. So, 10th place, I forget what the 10th place money was, but 10th place money is better than no 10th place money.
True.
And also making their return, we had Jesse Ottenhoven.
Yeah.
Made his return back to Wisconsin National Raceway Thursday, and he ran pretty well too. And we talked to him after the race. He's a old school wrestling guy too.
Yep.
And also, I do want to mention there is a very special event that you're doing also. The Crankin Engines. Would you be able to tell the people about the event that you're hosting here, the Crankin Engines event?
Sure. Yeah, starting next week on Monday, we're hosting an event by the Crankin Engines people. Along with the Mechanics Chicks group. They host they're going to host it in our other shop here. Young kids can come work on small engines and learn a little bit how to rebuild them, how to fix them, how to make them run better. And we're hosting it through next week as well as the following week. So happy to host that. We'll have some some pictures and some hopefully another discussion with them that we can post with that.
Now, is that group open? Is that open to people that want to come out in the area to that, or?
I think the first week is full. The second week does have some openings yet. No, it's all full. Never mind, it's all full, which is great. That's awesome for them. Just happy to host it, and yeah, John Signoretti and I and a couple others have been cleaning up that other shop. That was, if you remember any of the pictures or videos from last year when we first moved out here, that was the original race shop out there. So it's a little rough, but we're gonna clean it up, and it's gonna be a nice event.
Now that sounds really cool. You know, Lou, I think we could end up finding our next Robert Yates or Jack Roush in that group. And you know what I think? I think that sounds like a winning combination.
Yeah.
Crankin Engines, the Lou Goss racing team. I think that's a winning combination. If you didn't have anything to add, I'm just going to let everybody know. I do want to thank you guys for joining us here for Shop Night. You guys have a wonderful time. We'll see you guys at Wisconsin International Raceway. I'm Chris Marshall. That's the big LG Lou Goss. And we'll see you next time. Yeah.